vitamins of spiritual nourishment in the difficulties, and we can get a taste for them that somehow rewards us as we don't resist, as we ease up on ourselves and ease up on the criticism of the situation that maybe prolongs itself in our lives for some reason. I'd like to have you think now about yourselves and how you act and react, especially react to yourself through your life experiences. And this past week, thinking of something maybe that you are going through, or a dear one, someone you love is going through, let me ask if you have felt this way. I have like 3 don'ts. We don't often talk about don'ts. Most of the time we talk about do's. But this morning, I have 3 don'ts and 1 do. And in these 3 don'ts, let's think about this for a minute, because these are all stress producers. They're stress producers in your body. 1 is, how have you felt about something now that's happened this week? Think of this in relation to you. Oh, I should have overcome that resentment. Oh, I should have been more understanding. Oh, I should have been stronger. Especially Unity students feel this way, because we know the truth and it makes it for a higher goal there. Or I should have had more faith in that situation, or been more forgiving. Or I should have just plain loved more. Or I should be demonstrating greater prosperity, great effectiveness in my life and my work. That's the number 1 don't. Don't heap coals of fire on your head. Don't do that. God is not doing that. Don't you do that. Even the very thought that you react that way or thought that is enough of a little fire to be put out, to be released, to be cooled down by easing up on yourself. You've done your best this week. You've done the very best you know how at this time. Of course it isn't perfection. None of us are in that state of perfection. We probably would not be here if we were in that state of perfection. We'd move on to a different realm. And then we'd have new goals to discover and to meet and to overcome, again, the challenges that would be there. Now, secondly, let's think about it another way. So you're not going to heap coals on your head, one upon another. You've really got a flame and a fire in there that is damaging, extra stress. Who needs it? You don't. One thing I find a lot of people come to me with, and other ministers receive this too, especially in Unity, and a person will say, I think God must be punishing me because of something I have done wrong. I must deserve that, if not from this life, another lifetime that I didn't do so well in before this time. And maybe I just have to suffer a while in order to prove myself worthy and to learn. That's another no-no. I can't control my negative thoughts. No matter how hard I try, I keep getting all these negative thoughts and I just don't seem able to control them. Or something always goes wrong. I just think about, now I'm getting into the place where things are right and orderly, and then something more goes wrong. And when it rains, it pours. Number 2, don't. Don't keep on spinning your own wheel of misfortune. Don't keep on spinning it. It may start off, it may spin, but don't you lend any more to that spinning, to that exercise of activity within yourself. We'll talk about how we're going to do all of this, how we're going to get down to this in a minute. And third, in another area of thinking, we think about other things out there. Now, not so much about what we are doing personally, but other people out here, and we say, the economy is against me. The interest rates are against me. The world is in a mess. This is all from out here now. Or the humidity wears me out. We do, don't we? Or people in this area are so unfriendly. Where I live, nobody wants to smile at me or be a friend. Well, that's some more of that thing we want to get rid of. So don't become a stamping ground for added negatives. Don't stamp and stamp and stamp around that stamping ground for added negatives. You've got enough of them. They're there. They're all there. They're out there, in here, everywhere you look. They're around. But don't keep on stamping around in them. Get out of the mess. You don't have to believe in this. may be so, it may be a fact, but as a Unity student, you learn to deal not with facts, you learn to deal with yourself as a child of God, growing and unfolding and knowing that you have a presence and a power within you that is greater than all the things out there. You are more than a conqueror through Christ in you. You are more than a conqueror through God in you. God is for you. God is with you. God is within you. And you must be, as we said the week before last, you must be for you. And if you are not for you, you don't expect other people to be for you either. You must establish that inside of yourself. So we've got these three don'ts. Don't heap coals of fire upon your head. If one rests there, get it off. Don't keep spinning your own wheel of misfortune over and over. Same old thing, all the negatives. Get it out of there. Don't become a stamping ground continually for added negatives to come on in and prepare the nest for them, to dwell in and rear them. You don't even want to rear them, rear any young. So what are we going to do to turn the tables on this? Because that's what we want to do, is turn the tables on all the negatives, on all the things that are stress-producing. Stress does produce difficulties in our body temple. We're told this. Let me share something with you about this. Dr. Hans Selye, who is the founder of the Institute of Stress, tells us that this happens, but he says also that he has a word he calls eustress, E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S. The E-U comes from the Greek, which means for good. Dr. Selye suggests that there can be a constructive or healthy stress which not only tests the fiber of our character, it also teaches us to know and depend on inner resources. The question is how to find equalizing strength from within for the stress which bombards us from without. And that's what we want to know. How can we get rid of this? Let me share with you something. I think when I mention something personally, this encourages you to realize that we all are, at times in a state of some kind of stress. Sometimes we feel it subconsciously, not even consciously, but we notice reactions within the body and we wonder what is wrong. And we can find out. I recall this instance, and this was for myself some time ago, and there was some stress, I suppose, that I was aware of, but often I will find that this becomes evident within the dream world. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I never dream. That's not true. You do dream. You just don't remember that you dream. And dreams are supposed to, that's what they really are for, to help you in your spiritual progress if you learn to understand them and not be afraid of your dreams either. And I know you've all had dreams, maybe something similar to this. And watch your dreams and understand your dreams and help yourself through your dreams if you want to cultivate this kind of help for you. In this particular dream, I recall that I was running from something. I really was running. And it was funny because at the time I had a sense of humor about it, and I was saying to myself, wow, you really have got to be in condition to run away from all of this stuff. And you do. It takes a lot of running to get away from negatives in your life. But I came to this point in my dream where I couldn't run any farther. I came to a blank wall. I had to stop. Oh my gosh, there's no way out. And have you felt that way at times? There's no way out. I'm going to live with this thing all my life. What a terrible thought, This produces stress to think, I'll never get out of this. I'll always be in this state. And sometimes when we're very down about something, we think that. It won't be true, but we think that. And that becomes another stress-producing thought and feeling within us. And as very often happens in a dream, at that very point of no return, when I got to that point, I didn't even know what it was that was chasing me, but I wanted to get away from it. At that very point, and you've had this happen to you, I awakened. At the very point of crisis, you will awaken from your dream. And through psychology, through something, Janet Oliver has mentioned this a number of times in her seminars we've had here and as we've talked, and she said, it's a good thing just to relax, meditate, and reconstruct that dream as it was, and think about it and meet it and face it. I thought, oh my gosh, you mean I've got to do this? And I did. I thought I've done it before, and I know it is helpful, so I went through this again. So I quieted myself after I'd awakened. I knew there was something that was stressful, and I decided I was going to stop right then and there and get to the root of this. So I meditated. I went through all that period of being chased and running away from something. I had an idea of what it was. There was a lot of doubts and fears about things, about myself, about people, about a lot of things happening. It doesn't make any difference what it is. It all produces the same thing, stress. So I meditated and thought about this and just let it come. You cannot force it. You have to let it come. And so I found myself back into the dream and running again. And this time I knew in this meditation that I was going to have to come to this point of stopping. There would be finally a place where there was no way out. I would have to stop, and here I recognized I could turn the table on the stress and on the negative. So I stopped in this meditation and turned around and said, okay, I'm ready to face it. What is it? And in this dream, imagination is fantastic. You have a wonderful power of imagination within you, which can help you to heal yourself through the power of God in you. And here, as I turned around, I saw this fantastic, huge bear. Wouldn't be enough to frighten anybody. And this huge bear had great long teeth and great long claws, ready to pounce. But you see, I was taking the stand willingly. I had chosen no longer to heap coals of fire on my head, no longer to spin my own wheel of misfortune, and no longer to stay a stamping ground for that, whatever it was. And facing it is the greatest thing in the world to do. It's a clean feeling because you know through God in you, you can. And you don't have to run from the situation or get out of that situation, but milk that situation for the greatest stuff that will nourish you in turn. Eustress. Good out of the stress. So, facing this, I said, okay, whatever you are, I know that really you are nothing but a figment of my own imagination. I put my finger out and touched this huge, whatever it was, caricature of fear, doubt, anything. And the minute I did this, the entire big, whatever that was, collapsed like a bare rug and lay at my feet. And the thought that came to me was, it's hollow. It has no substance. And I breathed a sigh of relief. I thought, this is just the way it is. Thank you, God, for showing me in this picture. Bible uses this a lot, all through the Scripture. Pictures that come to people still can come to you and come to me to help us in an analogy, in this picturing what is really going on within the subconscious mind that we don't even know about. As I saw this fall to my feet, I gave it a kick and hung it up on a rack. Now, it may return sometime, but the wonderful thing I know is even when it does, because there are always new challenges, always new fears, and always new doubts, and always new people, and always new situations. But basically, they're all the same. So you still maybe blow into them by the breath of your own belief, faith in that situation as being fearful, or fear-producing, stress-producing. But when you put up your finger of knowing, and poke that very thought and that feeling with knowing this and turn the tables on the whole situation, which is really all you're doing is working in your own consciousness. And that's all Unity teaches, is helping to deal with your consciousness so that more of God in you can come out. And so you can poke that situation in your mind's eye and see it fall flat on the floor. It is absolutely nothing. It is hollow, not hollow, but hollow. It is not truth. It is not pure. It is not invulnerable. There is nothing to fear because you are more than a conqueror through Christ who loves you, through God who loves you, who is with you, in you, and for you all the way. Again, stress. Let's go back to what else is said about stress, and this is also helpful and interesting. Stress, it's a technical term at times in physics for the measurement of weight, strain on material. Stress in this regard is the force exerted between contiguous portions of a body or bodies, generally expressed in pounds per square inch. In mechanics, the word stress is used for the internal strength of a metal to withstand extreme weight or pressure. It's interesting to note that stress on metals is measured by what is called the yield point and the failure point. The yield point is when the stress on the material actually makes it stronger. The failure point is simply when the strain breaks the load-bearing capacity of the metal. And here we go on our next point, which is simply a due, the great big due of Jesus Christ, which is for you and for me. Jesus knew all of this. He knew everything that you and I ever talk about, discuss, learn. He already was there in oneness with the Father, in knowing the power of God within him. God was in him. God is in him. And telling us to remember that same beautiful truth. It'll conquer anything. But we do need to know it. And here at this particular point, a crucial time in his life. This was as difficult for him as the littler things are for you and me in our lives. This was a challenge. This brought him fear. It brought him doubt. It brought him a feeling of separation from God. It brought him all the doubts and fears and feelings that you and I ever have about anything that ever tests or tries us. Whether it's a physical thing, a mental thing, emotional thing, a financial thing, makes no difference. They're all healed the same way, through conscious awareness of oneness with the Father. And that fear and all the negative gets in between. It's a separation state. And you don't want it. You don't have to have it. And you don't have to keep on spinning the wheels and stamping in that ground. You can turn the tables on it through prayer, through realization, through understanding that you and God are one, and you can work with God and God with you. So here he was, at a point of great stress, tremendous stress, so much stress that it was as if his sweat was great drops of blood falling down to the ground. Oh, he worked, he prayed, he had to believe all over again. He had to do all the things that you and I ever do and all the little things of life that we come to. He had to go all the way in working with his stress in that ordeal. And what a beautiful thing happens here, because he comes to the point which is the yield point. And every prayer has a yield point. You can struggle, you can work, you can affirm, you can decree, only God is in me, only God is in this, nothing but good is coming out of this. I know only God is in it, I know it, I believe it, and still feel down deeply. You're not too sure. But it's there. The real faith is there. The real God is there within you. The reality of your being is right there within you. It's there in you now, in every moment, in every time of all eternity. God is in you forever and ever and ever, as everything you ever need, everything you could ever ask for. And he knew it. But he still went through this. And he came to this point where he said, as you know and I know, how many times you've heard it, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me, nevertheless not my will, but thine be done. People get from this the wrong connotation. Sometimes we think, oh gosh, now something terrible is going to happen if I let go and let God. God's will may be for something else that is not so good. He may be wanting to test me and try me. This isn't it at all. There is a yield point in which we know that through that experience, no matter how it comes in its outworking, we are going to grow and be firmed up stronger and greater and finer and better than we ever have been before in our life. Our yield point is our strengthening point. God, I surrender this. And I recall another point in my own life where I thought, I'm going to pray this through. I'm going to make my affirmations, and I made them all. I affirmed, I decreed. This went over a long period of time, my friends. Sometimes it is years. And sometimes when a thing takes a little longer, the results are even better. Not that it has to, but if we've chosen that somehow within ourselves, know that if it has taken a long time, something even better is going to come out. And I remember at that time in particular, I did everything I knew, and finally one day, it even seemed to be worse. This was a physical challenge. It seemed to even be worse than ever been before. So I just spread myself out. I lay down on the floor inside the house. I said, okay, God, I'm just standing up to this. I know that there's no truth in it. It's that great big bear. I'm poking it. It's hollow, not hollow. But I know that as I surrender myself to you, the very best thing is going to come out of this. And this could continue for years if that's the way it's supposed to be. Okay, whatever the will, I know your will is only good, but if I promote this for so much longer, I know that I'm being strengthened, that only good is coming out of it, and you're going to take care of it, and I yield, God. I give up everything. I give up everything now to you. You take over. I have nothing left to give. We can't always get to that point of really. We can say it sometimes, but sometimes when we really mean it, when we've really prayed through, something miraculous happens in us. That was a total healing. The healing didn't come that week, but several weeks later, the healing was complete. Total. I've never had such a tremendous awareness of the power of surrender to God and His will of good. This will, in this life of Jesus Christ, was for resurrection. Crucifixion is a passing thing. Resurrection is forever. And everything that you come to, every crossroads, represented by the cross. This is a crossroads of your thinking. And when you come to that crossroads and poke at that lie, it falls flat, and you resurrect into a new awareness of the power of God within you. The stress point is a yield point for the greater good that will come through in your life. You can do this in physical things, financial things, emotional things, in everything in your life. Life is not without stress, but welcome that. Okay, so this has produced stress in me. You stress, EU, and you stress the good point, the yield point in your prayer. God, I'm ready now. You do a lot of work before you give up. But as you do your work, pray your prayer, make your affirmations, believe in God and in you, then let go, surrender, ease up on yourself. You've come to the yield point where added strength comes through the measure of your own being. It's a test of your own mettle, of your spirituality. People have a lot of things that they go through in their lives, and I get lots and lots of letters. I'm going to share part of one with you. It was very, very touching to me. First of all, I want to share just a little story that somewhere this really got to my sense of humor. One time a person said, Mary, you really have a strange sense of humor, but don't lose it. I like it. So maybe this is, I don't know how you'll think about it, but this did something within me, and I think it seems appropriate. But this was about a ship that was en route to a fellow in his job assignment in Germany, and John, we'll call him, was given a brief course in the German language. He'd been in Berlin only a short time when one evening a small Volkswagen pulled over to the curb, and one of the passengers got out and said in German, would you please give us directions to this nearby theater? Well, John was so thrilled to realize he not only had understood every word in German, but he actually knew how to give them the desired directions. So laboriously and in badly accented German, he told them how to get there. They thanked him profusely, and as they pulled away, he heard in clear Brooklynese, well, that's the first German I could understand. Isn't that hysterical? Neither one of them was German. They were trying to talk in German. They had a language they could understand the whole time, that they could easily have communed with one another. And I think that's life. There's a place of easy communication, person to person, thing to thing, circumstance to circumstance. But it's amazing that we try to speak in a language we don't even understand. We don't understand ourselves. Well, unity is for the purpose of you understanding you. That's why we're talking about things that bother you, that test you, that try you. This precious, dear person, when I do groan at times when I get a 5 or 6 page letter. It was this. At the close, having a great deal of difficulty. It's a person way up north somewhere. Great deal of difficulty in her life, humanly, in emotions and family relationships. And I sympathize with her. She's a good Unity student. She's tried. She's struggled. She's been trying to, get up there and turn the tables on this. But at this point, she says, I cannot believe God loves me or hears me. I just cannot believe it deep inside. She was really pouring out her heart. I guess I believe it for other people, but not for me. I don't know why anyone would read this or care. Oh, please just tear it up. Well, I have all except this. some way putting it down by telling you might help me to get through the day. I'm so desperate, and today that tears won't stop. Thank you. My friends, we all go through periods like that. I do, you do, we all do. Man, woman, child, everybody. This is part of your growing. Beautiful, beautiful awareness that when those times come, you're at the stress point wherein you can yield. And yield to the goodness you stress. Let it be your point of yielding and lack of outer stress. Let it become a point of strengthening, which it will. And I thought of this, and then I also thought of the psalmist. And all you have to do is read the Psalms, and you find it says the same thing that she's saying. Hear my prayer, O Lord. I cried unto the Lord with my voice. I poured out my complaint before him. I showed him my trouble when my spirit was overwhelmed within me. I looked on my right hand and beheld there was no man that would know me. Refuge failed me. No man cared for my soul. I cried unto thee, O Lord, and I said, Thou art my refuge and my portion to the land of the living. Attend my cry, for I am brought very low. Deliver me from my persecutors, for they are stronger than I. Bring my soul out of prison, that I may know thy name. Then the stress point yields. Yields to the Spirit within, and says, The Lord upholdeth all that fall, raiseth up all those that are bowed down. The eyes of all wait upon thee, and thou givest them their meat in due season. Thou openest thine hand and satisfiest the desire of every living thing. The Lord is righteous in all his ways, and holy in all his works. The Lord is nigh unto all them that call upon him, to all them that call upon him in truth. And in the instance of Jesus Christ, in the Garden of Gethsemane, we read finally, And there came an angel strengthening him. Well, it might have been 1,000 angels. It might have just been a deep, shining awareness within his own soul that God was in him. He and the Father were one all over again, and that point was strengthened within him. That's when the resurrection takes place. When you turn the tables on what's facing you, you turn the tables of your consciousness, and you look at that and you tell it, it's hollow. It holds no fear for me. I yield to the Spirit within. Then you have your own personal resurrection, friends. Then you are more than a conqueror. And you are, through Christ, who loves you. And we love you. God bless you.